Well, it's Canada Day today, and I'm at Scuttlebutt Lodge, the historic cabin here in Lanark County, which is older than Confederation itself. And we have much to be happy about in Canada as we celebrate our nation's birthday today. And I thought it'd be wise, be smart, just to share some of the great accomplishments that Canada has achieved during my lifetime here as a Canadian. But first, I should make a special note of a couple key individuals. Mayor Patrick Brown in Brampton has banned all fireworks in Brampton during Canada Day. And of course, this is for your own safety, but people may not realize just how virtuous and how cognizant Mayor Brown was in banning fireworks. And the real reason for this is if there was fireworks going on there, of course the Brampton police would not necessarily know where all the gunshots and gunfire was coming from tonight in Brampton. And that would be a dangerous situation if the cops confused some of the fireworks, because they do make a loud noise and somewhat similar to a firearm. So Patrick Brown has taken the initiative to keep people in Brampton safe, banning the fireworks while the gunfire is on, so that the cops don't get confused between the two. But we also, this week, we announced that two very worthy recipients of the Order of Canada have been named. Now, for those who don't know, the Order of Canada is our highest civilian award in this country. This is reserved only for those who achieved the peak, the epitome of service to Canadians. And two of these recipients, of course, are none other than Dr. Theresa Tam and Dr. Bonnie Henry. And it's important that we recognize their achievements. They gave us some very wise and sage advice during COVID. If you recall, during COVID, both of them came out and said, because of this dangerous infection, that it would be better when you're making love with your partner that you should wear a mask of lovemaking during COVID. But more importantly, and far safer in their views, and thank God they gave us the advice, is that it would be better to use a glory hole during COVID than risk lovemaking with your wife or husband. So hats off to to Theresa Tam and Bonnie Henry for getting the Order of Canada Award for their wise and thoughtful advice during COVID. But, Canada has changed a lot since I was a youngster. Today, Canada is renowned now as the country that has the most extensive and greatest affordable housing in the world. Nowadays in Canada, we have opened up all our city parks and our parking lots so that people can set up their tents free of charge. Can you imagine? Free of charge. They can use city-owned property, parks, and parking lots to set up their tents and bring their grocery carts and their belongings. And it's all free. It's all free. In my day, when you wanted to go camping, you had to pay a campground or the provincial park to set up your tent. Our government's recognizing that they need to make housing more affordable for Canadians, have done this wonderful initiative of making it free for all Canadians. And oftentimes, these parks and parking lots are situated close by to safe injection sites. So if you get a little morose or if you feel like partying, you can go get some party drugs free of charge at the safe injection sites. And they're often located very close to the affordable home encampments in our major cities. We also, when I was a kid, Canada Day parades were often, those old-fashioned marching bands, pipes and drums, flags, majorettes twirling their batons up in the air, A very misogynistic ritual, if there ever was one, for sure. So Canada today has moved the benchmarks substantially here, and now you can go out to most major cities and watch old, wrinkled men bearing, well, in the nude, showing off, displaying all of their accoutrements, um, wrinkles and all, and applaud them as they proudly march down our city streets now. Um, Far more inclusive and less misogynistic than those old-fashioned marching bands and majorettes. And yeah, in Toronto, they've even gone one step further. This week, they've offered some new exhibits at the Toronto Zoo. In my day, when we went to the zoo, we would just be confined to looking at the exotic and the wild animals in their cages and displays. This week, the Toronto Zoo has taken an additional step and are having drag time storytelling and drag time story times in the zoo, so that young children can get a broader experience and see more than just the wild and exotic animals, but how humans can be wild and exotic as well, I guess. So big efforts underway in Toronto. Of course, another big achievement that we should celebrate this Canada Day is the expansion of minimum wage. And when I was a youth, minimum wage was only had about 2% of the workforce collecting minimum wage. It was an exclusive club just for students and part-time workers, often young in high school or college. But we have broadened that out significantly. Now about 15% or 20% of our workforce has the ability to have a minimum wage job now as well. This is much like a career wage now. We've done a marvelous job. We couldn't do it without our government's assistance on this, of making more and more Canadians available and happy to get a minimum wage job. And it's not just reserved for the young and the students. Now, a middle-aged family man and woman can get a minimum wage job as well. So kudos to our government for making it more inclusive on minimum wage. And we've also gone one step further to broaden out that minimum wage category. Now, because the minimum wage is a heavy burden for our employers, so our governments have started a program to subsidize the wages of immigrant workers coming to Canada. So those businesses don't have to carry the whole burden of paying a minimum wage job. Now our provincial and federal governments will subsidize up to a third of those wages for if the business hires a recent immigrant. So we spare no expense in Canada in making sure that everybody is included and that nobody is feeling left out. Of course, we know in Canada that we have a declining birth rate and fertility rate. We're not producing enough children here in this country to do the work for the aging boomers who need ever more assistance in cutting their yards or bathing themselves or personal care work that the older boomers may just not have enough stamina left in them to do it. So, and we don't have enough children to do these jobs. So Canada very astutely has been funding many foreign wars. We've been providing cannons and tanks and money to Ukraine and to the Middle East to help fund these foreign wars that bomb and destroy homes and villages in these faraway countries. And of course, that is a big inducement and big encouragement for the people who live in those far off countries to seek refuge elsewhere. And where better to come than the country that is funding, but not actually doing the bombing, but funding and providing the bombs. Come to Canada. You can get a nice minimum wage job and be subsidized, and take care of the boomers who have their elbows up and don't know when to put them down. So, a great initiative by Canada to fund foreign wars, increase our immigration levels, and mitigate this terrible failure of birth rates and fertility in our country. But again, we're also very much environmentally kind here in our country. We're conscientious about the environment. And when we have astutely recognized that we should leave our oil and gas in the ground here in Canada, as well as our gold, our silver, our copper, these minerals, let's leave them in the ground. Because, if we were to mine and exploit these resources, that would put a lot of pressure and on foreign countries, especially countries like in Africa, where the children who are mining the gold and silver and lithium there, they might be put out of work if we started exploiting and mining our resources here in Canada. So to be thoughtful, to be kind, to be generous, we're going to leave our minerals in the ground here, our oil and gas, and just allow the child labor to go on in Africa and pump the oil and gas out of the desert rather than use up that dirty stuff here in our country. So, this again shows just how well-rounded Canadians have become in helping others around the world, as well as helping ourselves as well. Now, as we saw in the recent election, and many Canadians may not realize this, but we have the world's longest undefended border, even though our greatest enemy just lives to the south of us. Especially now, this evil enemy is now headed up by an evil orange man. And we had to rally around during this last election because of this danger. And but I'm pretty confident that we're safe here. 90% of Canadians live within 100 miles of this undefended border, and I am absolutely confident that nobody in their right mind would try invading Canada, facing off against this multitude of boomers with their elbows up, who all live so closely to the border. It's not because of trade and commerce and relations. These people are living beside and along our border to defend Canada from the evil enemy to the south of us. And thank God that Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre rallied together on Team Canada, encouraged people to keep their elbows up and defend our homeland against this evil enemy to the south. But one of the great and unrecognized achievements in Canada from when I was a youngster was we've done away with those pesky old commandments. The ones I'm talking about. There was 10 of them. They told us that we should not lie, we should not cheat, we should not steal, we should not commit adultery, things like that. But we've done away with those. Nobody talks about the 10 Commandments anymore. They're passé, they're old, and you don't need them in a secular society. So now we are free in Canada, and this is a great accomplishment. We're free to lie, cheat, steal, commit adultery. Whether you're a politician or just whether you're a prince or a pauper, there are no restrictions now. And we ought to be happy that we can do all these things now and not feel ashamed or embarrassed or guilt for our transgressions. They're not transgressions anymore. We're free to do it. But listen, it's Canada Day, and let's be happy. We have so much to celebrate here in Canada, and make sure, let's keep this progress going forward. Let's make sure we never go back in time. Let's continue to expand our minimum wage workforce. Let's continue to expand our affordable homes. Recognize the great achievements of people like Bonnie Henry and Theresa Tam. And we may have to ban fireworks in more cities now because of the confusion with gunfire. But that's a small price to pay. And let's continue to vote for the Uniparty so that this progress doesn't stop. Because who knows the great heights that the Uniparty will take us to as long as we keep them in power. And that's really, I'm agnostic on whether it's the blue Uniparty or the red Uniparty. It really makes no matter to me, but make sure you support them, because Canada's progress forward would be in jeopardy if we ever allowed someone else to govern our country rather than the Uniparty. I hope you like this edition of the Scuttlebutt Lodge. My name's Randy Hillier. If you like it, make sure you share, hit the notifications, like with others, and I look forward to your comments as well. You can see me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Substack, and make sure you share, because the tech oligarchs sometimes don't like my message and keep it a little bit hidden from others. But that's, again, just the price of progress in Canada. And next week on Scuttlebutt Lodge, I'll be taking a look at a new white paper on a regional electoral strategy and reform for our country. Hope you enjoyed this edition. See you again soon, and crack a beverage and enjoy Canada Day. But make sure you don't do it in a boat, because we want to keep you safe. Bye-bye.